I get asked a lot of questions about visas and documents and moving to Italy, life in Italy. So I wanted to make a video where I put most of them together in one place for you. Maybe this will be a part 1 video of a series, and as I get more questions, I will potentially make another video in the future. So as you're watching this, or if you happen to have any questions already, go ahead and write them in the comments down below. I always respond to every comment I get, and I try to help you out as much as possible. Please keep in mind that I am not a legal professional or an immigration professional. I'm just a girl who moved to Italy, so I know a little bit about the rules and procedures based off of my experience as an American citizen. I don't know the rules for every country in the world, so if you're an American, this information might apply to you as well. Before I begin answering the questions, I wanted to say this very important thing. If you plan on moving to Italy, you are going to have to show determination and initiative to figure out the answers to your questions yourself. A lot of people ask me questions that they should be able to answer on their own. Moving here is challenging, and you are going to have to be assertive to be able to figure out all of the answers to your questions. No one else can do this for you, and you will quickly learn that not a lot of people are going to be willing to offer you any help, especially not for free. But that's okay. You can do this. With all that said, let's get into the video. I broke these questions down into 2 main categories. The first one is visas and documents, and the second one is living in Rome. Let's begin with the first question. Can I go to Italy first and see if I like it and then get a visa? So you can do whatever you want. If you want to go explore Italy and see if you can picture yourself living there, that's great. But in order to get a visa, you have to be in the United States. You cannot get a visa if you're already in Italy. It doesn't work that way. You have to go back to where you live in the United States, apply for the visa, send your passport in the mail, and wait for it to arrive back at your house before you can set foot in Italy with your visa. Number 2, how long can I stay in Italy if I don't have a visa? If you are an American citizen and you do not have a visa, you are allowed to stay within the Schengen region for up to 90 days out of a period of 180 consecutive days. For example, if you want to spend 3 months in Italy, that's great, you totally can, up to 90 days, but then you have to leave another 90 days before you can return. That equals 180 days. So your first day in Italy starts the clock of 180 days. You can be in the Schengen zone for 90 of those days, and then you have to leave. If you don't know what the Schengen zone is, I suggest you look that up. There are the majority of the European countries included in the Schengen zone, but there are a few that are not in Schengen and still European. So if you're wanting to stay within Europe, it is possible, but you really have to pay attention to the amount of time you spend in each place. For example, you could live in Italy for 90 days and then go to the UK, or Ireland, or Bulgaria, or Romania. Again, look it up because these things do change. I know Croatia is planning on joining the Schengen region, so look into that information for yourself and plan your time accordingly. If you are planning on getting a visa, you are permitted another 90 days on top of the dates of your visa. So you can come 90 days before the dates of your visa begin, or you can spread it out to be before and after and sandwich your visa dates in between. It's up to you, but you can have 90 days before or after the dates of your visa. Which visa did you get? I came to Italy this time around on the student visa, and once you have your visa and your Permesso di Soggiorno, you can extend your stay or convert it to a different category. So I am currently in the middle of that process, and there will be future videos coming out as soon as I get the results of my document application process, and I can gather all the information for you to talk about the visa category that I'm converting mine into. It's quite complicated. I get this next question all the time because it's kind of confusing. What did you do regarding health insurance to get your visa? So my consulate was the San Francisco consulate, and on the website you can click on the document to download for all of the requirements for the study visa. One of them is getting health insurance. You can have your own American health insurance cover you abroad, but since I didn't have that, I signed their affidavit document stating that I would get Italian health insurance as soon as I arrived in Italy. So I had to sign this document and get it notarized before sending it in to apply. And the information on their affidavit document is actually incorrect. This health insurance company that they list no longer exists in Italy. So after doing a lot of digging around and trying to find the correct information, I found out that the Welcome Association Italy is an accepted health insurance company. So I actually went there in person. It's right by the Termini train station if you're coming to Rome. But you can email them. They're very helpful. They respond to your emails. You can also register and pay for this online without having to go in person. Do you have to have a job set up beforehand? If you are talking about getting a work visa, yes, you need to have a job set up beforehand. You need to have a contract, and you are going to need many different letters and certificates from your employer in order to even apply for the work visa. If you do have a company or an agency sponsoring you with a work contract, it makes the immigration process quite easy because most of these companies have people who do these things for you. So if you do come on a work visa, it can simplify things, but it's very difficult to get a job in Italy that gives you a contract like this that will help you with the documents for the immigration process. So good luck, and if you do get hired, congratulations, because that's really difficult to achieve. How do you get a permesso di soggiorno? So once you get your visa, you will find out that when you arrive in Italy, within your first 10 days in Italy, you will have to apply for your permesso di soggiorno, which is your permit to stay. You will do this at a post office. So you'll see the yellow post offices all over Italy, and only some of them will be able to help you. So that can be quite frustrating. Once you find a post office that can help you, you will ask for a kit. And it is this application packet that you should probably take back home and work on it when you can have some peace and quiet, because it can take a while. You fill it out to the best of your ability with all the correct information. You're also going to need to provide copies of documents such as your passport, your visa. If it's a study visa you got, you will need to provide a document, a certificate from your school about enrollment. You'll have to provide your health insurance document as well. Things like that. Basically, a lot of the same documents that you needed to apply for your visa, you're going to have to show again for this application. So make tons of copies of everything and bring them all with you. You're going to need them. Once you have all of the documents gathered and the application filled out, you're also going to need a photo, so you can get your photos taken at these little booths all around the city. You're going to go back to the post office and mail it in. You're going to pay for it at the post office as well. The cost of the application changes quite frequently, so make sure you get the right amount in order to not hold up your application for months and months and months and months like mine did. Once you pay and turn everything in, they will give you a receipt stating your appointment at immigration. Save this paper. You're going to need it. Usually in Rome, the immigration appointments are months after you have applied. For example, I applied in August and my meeting at immigration was in December, so it can take a while. You go to your immigration appointment and they will ask you a few questions, make sure all the documents are correct, and then they will take your fingerprints, and after that, you just wait for about another month and a half. I waited about 3. And then when it's ready, you will go to the assigned police office to go pick it up. That is how you get a permesso di soggiorno. If you want a detailed video about my experience with this process, I will link it in the cards here for you to watch. If you're new to my channel, hello, my name is Alyssa. I'm an American photographer living in Rome, Italy. I try my very best to be a resource for you. So if you find this video helpful, or if you would like me to answer some of your personal questions, please show me some support and subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate it. So let's move into the second category of questions about living in Rome. How do I find a place to live? So depending on the visa you get, you can ask your school for help with this, or your employer might be able to help you with accommodations. But if you're kind of on your own, you can always start with renting out a flat on Airbnb for a month or a few weeks, however long you think it will take you to find something more long-term. You can look on Facebook groups. There's a few of them called Apartment in Rome or Rooms and Apartments for Rent in Rome, Rent in Rome. I think you get the point. Please never pay anyone before you actually see an apartment. Be smart with your information. Don't just pay people and give out your information before you actually see the property, because there are scams. But I know a lot of people who have rented rooms through Facebook groups, and we even rent out our apartment on Facebook from time to time when we're not in Rome. Another website that might be helpful is immobiliare.it. It's an Italian website where you can find rooms to rent. If you're wondering about the different neighborhoods, I have an entire playlist that I created a few years ago, so it's a little bit old, but I think the information is still accurate about all the different neighborhoods in Rome. So I will link that up here. How expensive is it to live in Rome? So this information was last updated in October 2022, this month of filming. A single person's monthly estimated costs are about 830 euros without rent. Renting a one-bedroom apartment in the center is just over 1,000 euros. And if you want to live outside of the city center, it's around 700. A monthly transportation pass is 35 euros. And food is really inexpensive. You can eat out at restaurants for quite cheap, around $20 a person or less, and food at the grocery store, well, you know, with everything going on in the world right now, prices are rising, but it's usually fairly inexpensive, especially compared to the United States. How much Italian do I need to know? I'd say in Rome, it's a big capital city. A lot of people are used to foreigners, so you might have an easier time with not knowing a lot of Italian, but you're going to need to learn it eventually. Not a lot of people can speak fluently with you. They're not very comfortable, and it's always good to learn the language of the country that you're moving to. So I suggest you learn a little bit, at least in the beginning. Do you feel safe? I get this question a lot, probably because I'm a younger female and it's a big city. So I do generally feel safe, especially during the day. I am very comfortable with Rome now, but I've felt pretty safe in Rome from the very beginning. From 2013 was the first time that I was here. So yes, I would say that Rome is fairly safe. I do tend to only go out during the day, though. I don't go out at night very often, and there are certain areas that I try to avoid if I do have to go out at night. For example, Termini Station, I don't go alone at night. It's just I'm not very comfortable in that area. I do have experiences of going out at night alone and being followed by men, being harassed by men, and I do fairly often have to deal with getting grabbed or groped on public transportation, or just when I'm walking down the sidewalk getting hollered at and things like that. This is a hard question to answer. It's different from person to person. I would say Rome is generally a safer city. Obviously, use common sense. Don't go into dark alleys by yourself at night. Be smart about it. Rome is a big city filled with lots of people from all over the world. It can be dangerous, but I think in general, it's quite safe. Maybe I should do a whole video on this because clearly I have a lot of thoughts going on in my head and I was not very concise. So maybe I'll do a video about that in the future. Is Rome safe? Because I guess I have a really long answer to that question. But generally, yes. The last question I've been getting a lot is, how did you move your dog to Italy? This is a complicated one, and I would start off by suggesting just don't move your dog here. But if you are moving here, you're moving your life here, you're here for longer than, a few months, and you don't have anyone to watch your dog in the States, okay, then move your dog. Before you come, you're going to have to get your dog checked out by the vet. The vet that you use needs to be one that is able to give you this health certificate stating that your dog is healthy to travel, fully vaccinated, and you will need to do this all within 10 days of your flight. So that can be quite stressful. Make sure you go on the 10th day out so that you have as much time as possible, because they have to mail it to a different office, get it certified, and then mailed back to you. So it can take a while. And it's different from country to country, but your dog is going to need certain vaccines. So just look into that well in advance, because it can take you some time, and the vaccine has to be in their system like a month or so before travel, things like that. So start researching well before your intended time of travel. Another thing is, make sure you pay attention to the airlines that you're traveling with, because they all have different rules. For example, our dog was a little bit too big, a little bit too heavy to be able to fly in the plane with my mom. But my mom got very lucky and they let her anyway. I think a lot of the rules are like 8 kilograms or 10 kilograms, including the size of the carrier that the dog is in. So my mom barely made it. And also the type of dog. Sometimes dogs are not allowed to go under the plane because they risk suffocation. Lily is one of those dogs because she has a shorter snout, so she wouldn't have been allowed under the plane, and she barely made it on the plane. So really pay attention to that, and it was so stressful. I really don't recommend risking that. Once you're in Italy, you have to go to an Italian vet and they will do a checkup, make sure your dog is healthy. Some of them will require a blood test to make sure the vaccines are in the dog's blood. And then you will get an Italian health certificate saying your dog's good to go. And if you are a resident in Italy, you can take that certificate and all the other certificates that you had before, and you have to go to this special office in Rome to apply for a European pet passport. My dog has a European passport before I do. I know. Again, in order to do that, it's quite complicated because you have to prove residency, and my mom is not a resident here. I am. So we transferred ownership, and now Lily is technically my dog in order to get her these papers. Having a pet passport allows you to travel within the Schengen zone without having to get health certificates or see the vet every single time you want to cross a border. So we thought it would be the best idea if Lily is going to be staying here. However, it's different because my mom wanted to take her to the UK and she wasn't allowed to. So, if you have these plans to travel a lot with your dog, please do the research ahead of time to avoid yourself the trouble and the stress on your dog of moving your dog around over and over, and it can be quite hard. So, I hope that answers the question of how to move your dog to Italy. Thank you for watching this video. I hope it was helpful. And again, as I get more questions, this might only be a part 1 video, and I would be happy to do another one. If you found it helpful, please give it a thumbs up so I know. If you have any more questions, write them down below, and I will see you guys in my next video. Ciao, friends!